Hi, welcome to Criminally Creative, a channel about my various creative endeavors. Today is Sunday, November 27th, and this is episode 36. I'm Susan. You can find me on Ravelry as Legal Eagle and on Instagram as Criminally Creative Podcast. This channel is mostly about knitting and cross stitch. Lately it's been a little bit more about cross stitch than knitting, but I do have a little bit of knitting today. I also usually try to timestamp below so that if you can skip around as you need to. I tend to do knitting then cross stitch in each segment, so I don't do all the knitting then all the cross stitch. I do knitting verdicts then cross stitch verdicts, and then I do knitting whips and cross stitch whips. If you are checking me out for the first time, I appreciate it. If you are returning, I appreciate that as well. It has been about a month since my last video. I had intended to video again about 2 weeks after last time, and circumstances just intervened, and that did not happen. So today, like I said, today is Sunday. It is the end of the Thanksgiving weekend here in the United States. I have had a really good holiday. My sister and her family were in from California. I live in North Carolina, for those of you who don't know, and that's where I've lived all my life. But my sister lives out in California these days, so I usually only see her once or twice a year, unfortunately, just because of, timing. But so we spent Thursday at my parents' house with her and her family, and my brother and his family. And then, whoops, I think I'm shaking the camera, sorry. Friday was the UNC-NC State game at UNC. We are UNC fans. My sister, father, and I all are graduates from UNC. And unfortunately, the game did not turn out the way we liked. But we lost by 3 points in double overtime. So it was a good game. If you're not from North Carolina or not on college sports, UNC and NC State is a very big rivalry. There's about 20 miles apart. They're both they're the two largest state-supported schools in North Carolina, and have always been a big rivalry. Our biggest rivalry is probably with Duke, but NC State is a very, very close second. So, like I said, unfortunately, we did not win, but we had a great time. We were fortunate. My parents have 2 season tickets, and we were fortunate that when we got there at the beginning of this season, I happened to know the people that had tickets next to us, and they had like 12 tickets. So we were able to purchase. They, unfortunately, for them, were not able to come Friday because of another commitment, but fortunately that meant for us, we were able to buy a large chunk of their tickets and everybody could sit together. So that was a lot of fun. Excuse me. But let's see, that's really been about it. There, in the past month, I've basically just been working. My friend Michelle and I spent a Saturday a couple weekends ago. Orange County, which is a couple of counties above us, had their artist open studio for a couple weekends, and so we spent a Saturday going around hitting all the fiber artists, which were largely quilters, and that was interesting. We had a lot of fun just doing that. I'll show you one thing I bought, but I didn't buy a whole lot. And that's really about it, other than, like I said, just working and living and hanging out and getting ready to start decorating for Christmas. I should have brought all my decorations in yesterday when it was sunny. Today it's all dreary rain, so that will have to wait for next weekend. All of our Christmas is stored in a shed in the backyard because we don't have room for it in the house. So I will I don't decorate much for Thanksgiving. I've got a little bit of fall stuff out that I'll get put up this week and get Christmas hauled in next Saturday, and probably get at least the basics done, and then over the week after that, piddle at it at night, each night. So anyway, that's it for hearsay. Let's get into the verdicts, because I actually have quite a few verdicts this time, which is very unusual for me. I have both knitting and cross-stitch verdicts. So let's start with the knitting. First is the socks, and I'm sorry for the close-up. I forgot to put these on a sock blocker, so I will put one of them on so that you can see what they look like. These are the socks you've seen before. The yarn is Lollipop yarn in the Bee's Knees colorway. some just a bunch of teals and blues striped. There is a second sock, but I didn't want to take the time to put them both on sock blocker since I forgot to do it ahead of time. I knit all my socks on US 0, which is 2mm toe up with a Fish Lips Kiss heel, is my standard formula. So that was my first knitting verdict, and my second is just a small little dishcloth. Not very exciting. This is just some, I have a giant cone of this colorway, so I'm not sure offhand what brand it is, but it's just cotton. One of my coworkers, I'm going to give kind of a kitchen set for Christmas, and I needed a dishcloth to go with it. So their kitchen is done in like kind of some oranges and stuff. So I need to weave those ends and wash that. And then the other big knitting finish, which is not that big, but it's big in terms of project, is I finished the ukulele coat for my granddaughter for Christmas, except that I do not have buttons for it yet. I've got to go get some buttons for it to go on. So this is the ukulele coat by Triana Murphy, I think. Let me get that right. Yeah, Triana Murphy. I made the 2 to 4 year old size. So I'll turn around back so you can see the pattern a little better than me trying to hold the fronts together. And this is made out of Malabrigo Rios in the magenta colorway. And I really like hopefully you can kind of see the color variation. It is still technically daylight outside, but it's getting dark. So even though I'm sitting in front of a window, I've got the lights going on. But anyway, so that is finished. I have got to take that to a yarn store and find some buttons that look good on it that are kid friendly and washable friendly, so that my daughter does not have to take buttons off to wash it. And that will be part of her Christmas. I also have 3 cross stitch finishes. 3 cross stitch finishes. Now they are all somewhat small, but I have 3. The first is the Mr. January that you've seen before that I was working on. This pattern is by Charlie's Needle, and I did this on 16 count Aida. There's no name for it. It's one I picked up at Southern Stitcher in Brookneal, Virginia, but I think they dyed it, but there was like no name for the colorway. I did this with my own conversion of floss, but the floss was picked similar to the colors of the pattern. So it's not as called for, but it's similar colors to the pattern. And I don't know if you can, it's going to get kind of yellow. You can see the light blue for the kind of ice. But anyway, so that is January done. It took a little longer than I thought because, as I've said before, these patterns turned out to be a little bit bigger stitch count than I had in my head. If I had paid attention to the stitch count, I would have realized. But anyway, my second finish is Sheepish Manor by Chessie and Me. This is a little kit that I bought when Peggy, Michelle, and I were in the mountains in July, but I actually bought the kit at, I think I bought the kit at Pandas Crossing in Greenville, South Carolina. They found the kit there, and for some reason I want to say that there wasn't enough for me to get it, and I ordered this online later, but I don't remember that for sure. But it was a kit, and so this is done on 36 count Legacy from Picture This Plus, and it's done with the Called For Gloriana silks. You can see the variegation in the green and the blue. It's really nice. I learned a Lazy Daisy stitch, which is what the leaves are. I had never done that before. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna, I might make that into a little pillow. I haven't decided yet what that's gonna be. And then my third cross stitch verdict is I finished a Mill Hill kit. This is Reindeer Chorus, which is one of Mill Hill's buttons and beads. And I just finished this very late last night, like 2 o'clock this morning. I would have finished it earlier, except we wanted to watch the first episode of the new Criminal Minds Evolution, and we didn't realize they had dropped two episodes, so I had to watch both. And I don't stitch while I watch TV because I can't pay that much attention to it. I knit while I watch TV. So anyway, so this is Reindeer Chorus. And what I had to do last night was all the beads. And so that's what took me a little while. But anyway, so that is done. I do have one of the Mill Hill frames, but it's light blue. And I think I may put this in there just for this Christmas so I can put it on my desk at work. Since this is, you know, kind of blue themed, even though the frame, light blue, is not that Christmassy. But I'm not sure. I haven't ever really looked at that frame. I assume it's kind of easy to switch ones in and out. So I'll have to take a look at that and see. So that is all of my verdicts. But there were what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verdicts. That's pretty impressive for me. If you're new here, don't get used to that at all. So let's move on to Court is in Session, and we will start with knitting. First is my High-Low Temperature Cowl, which is a pattern by Victoria Myers. This is in a Fat Squirrel bag. I'm doing this on US 4 3.5 millimeter needles, and I'm using minis from a 2020 Advent calendar from Fiber Studio at the Fiber Studio at Yarns to Die For. So this is a corrugated rib, and all of the knit stitches are the highs for the day. All the purl stitches were the low for the day. This is through last Saturday, the 19th. I haven't done, I usually work on this on Sundays and do the previous week's temperature up through Saturday. So I haven't worked on this yet today, and I might not get to it today. It might be tomorrow night, but excuse me. So as you can see, it has gotten much cooler here. We are no longer in all of the reds and the oranges and all of that. We actually had some of these lighter colors you can see. We actually had one day that the high was only in the, I think the high was in the 40s, yeah. You can see I don't know if you can see it. There's one row of the light blue, which is 40s. And so anyway, so this is actually going to be longer than I originally thought, which is good. Because it's still not going to quite be as long as I want. I think I've decided, excuse me, that after I finish the month, that I'm probably going to do a few rows of each color in temperature range. So like starting with my coldest color and do a temperature range to just kind of show what the range was as a way of lengthening a little bit, because I like my cows to be where they like hang low enough, but then you can double them up. So we will see. We'll see how long it is when I actually finish, you know, through the end of December as far as the days go. Oops. And then I did work some, sorry, it's hung up. This is in a Joji Locatelli box tote. I love these. I have about 4 of them. They are extremely expensive, but they are wonderful. This is the Earnest Cardigan by Joji Locatelli. I am doing this with Miss Bab's Yummy 2-ply in the Miram colorway, which is like a blue-green, not really a teal, but a blue-green. Trying to get this turned around so I can hold it upright. I'm doing it on US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter. This is a cardigan that is largely seed stitch, but with strings hanging everywhere. A cabled collar that is knit as you go, and some cables in the back. I would hopefully like to get this finished to wear this winter. We don't typically get cold enough to really wear sweaters all the time until January, although it has been unseasonably cold this fall. We actually have had a couple of nights below freezing, which is very unusual for us this time of year. But so I need to work on that more regularly now that the ukulele is done. Hopefully that will happen. And then the last knitting project that I have worked on is just It's a zigzag scarf by Christy Cam. Doing this on US 3, 3.25 millimeter. This is in a library bag from Bags by Awesome Granny. And this is just, right now, so I finished the socks that I showed you, and I haven't wound up yarn to start any new socks. So this has been more my sit and knit travel project lately. This is just a pattern I started because it's made with, the yarn I'm using is Lang Yarns De Pinto, and it's in 2 different colorways. So you go across and back in one color, switch it and go across, and that, you know, creates some of the color changes and stuff, although the yarn itself changes color. Anyway, it's just something that I started to, because I bought the yarn and thought it would be a neat little mindless project to work on. So that has been kind of my mindless and travel knitting right here lately. I have no plans for that other than, you know, like I said, it's just a mindless project that's not socks. So that is all of my knitting whips that I've been working on. Let's get into cross stitch. First is my temperature bookshelf. This is a pattern by Christy's Corner. It's in a Sock Monkey bag by Lynn X Stitch Creates. I am doing this on 36 count Jody fabric from Steel City Stitchers. There's no name to the colorway. Excuse me. I'm not sure. This was the date when I last recorded. I'm not sure if I was there yet or not. I don't know. Actually, let me back up. I'll put a picture here of what it looked like the last time that I showed it to you. That's what I forgot to do. And here is where it is now. So I have done, like I said, November through Saturday the 19th. I need to finish through at least yesterday, sometime in the next day or so. And then we have just December and we will be done. I actually had to sew some regular fabric onto the end of this to have room to stitch and it be tight enough at the Q-snap, because I don't know if you can see, but this right here is the edge of my fabric, which is plenty of edge for this project. It's just, it didn't give me enough edge to stitch without being all up on top of this. So I just sewed a scrap piece of quilting fabric to the bottom to give me a couple extra inches to hold it in the Q-snap. Let's see if I can stack those not out them falling down. The next thing I worked on, sorry, is this was my October whip go that I had not finished the last time I recorded. It is in a brass button bag. This is Christmas at Hawkrun Hollow. I will put a picture of what it will look like when I finish. And I will put a picture of what it looked like when I last showed it to you. My whip go goal for this year was to finish the second block, finish through the second block. And I did meet that goal. Let's see if I can get this folded so you can see better. So I have got for blocks 1 and 2. I am doing this on 27 count even weave in the Whisper colorway, so it's just barely got a hint of gray to it. I'm using the called for DMC, and this was a big house, very big house, and I don't know if you can see, but all of this white is stitched. All of this down here, it's see if I can get it in a way you can see color-wise. I don't know if you can tell. It's not actually it's not actually white. It's a color called Frost from Forbidden Fiber Co. The only non-DMC called for in the DMC conversion is a thread gatherer for that colorway that's supposed to be, it's like a frosted mint or something. Rather than ordering that, I went with this Forbidden Fiber Co. Snowdrift is what it's called, sorry. And actually, you might be able to tell there, it's got just the slightest little hint of baby blue to it. So, which you see a little bit more in person, but not a ton. But it's just not straight white. So, let's see. My November WIPCO calls. Sorry, I'm keep knocking my lamp when I pull my stuff out of my thing. The first one is Across Winter Lake, which is a Gecko Rouge pattern. Artwork by Joe Grundy. This is what it will look like when it's finished. Gecko Rouge does mostly full coverage, but you can only buy a kit. They license their artwork, and I believe as a way of making sure that copyright does not get violated, they only sell in kit form. So you get the chart, you get the fabric, you get the floss, and the pattern does not, it is DMC floss, but the pattern does not tell you the DMC numbers. They will, for a limited number of flosses, I think, send you some extra floss. What I do is I order the kits that are designed for 2 strands over 1 on 25 count, but I actually only stitch 1 strand over 1 on 25 count. So that way I can travel all over the back to my heart's content, because that's the way I do full coverages, and hopefully I will not run out of floss. The reality is I have a DMC thread card, you know, with the actual thread. So if I run out of something, I imagine I can figure out what color it is. Anyway, so my goal for this, for WIPCO, was 10 hours. And I did that. I don't remember exactly how many stitches that was. 2,000 or so. This has been a lot. Where I am now, and this is a lot of confetti. I'll show you, well, let me show you where I was before. Although you just got a sneak peek of where I am now. And this is where I am now. And all that white in here is stitched. There's different shades of white and cream. I tried again this time. I had tried parking before, like on the diagonal, and didn't like that. I saw a video, I think it was Handwork Maniac, showed how she does parking, and she works in columns. So I gave that a try when I picked this up this time. And I have definitively decided that parking is just not for me. It slows me down a lot. It's interesting because I worked on this 10 hours this month. The first 2 or 3 hours I did trying to use that, you know, the columns and the parking. When I decided that wasn't for me, and then started just working all the threads I had parked in as I worked again, I did so many more stitches in similar time that way. So I am a thread truck completer. As you can see, the back of mine is a mess. I don't care. What I do is I do use kind of a form of what they call the typewriter method. Excuse me. I will take the top left 10 by 10 that has not been completed, and I will take the most top left symbol that is open, and I will pick that symbol, and then I will thread a needle with that color, and then I will work that color as wherever it takes me until that thread runs out. And then I will go back to the same 10 by 10 square and pick the next symbol that is the most top left, and work that color wherever it takes me. So I'm completing a single 10 by 10 square eventually as I go, but I'm also working over into other quads and stuff because I just can't. I can't do it. The parking, the strands kind of, working in the columns worked better for me as far as the strands parked. But yeah, it doesn't work for me. So my other WIPCO call for November was Winter Road. Sorry. I set my basket in apparently the wrong place. I should have swapped it, but too late now. Was Winter Rose Manor by With Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. This, nope, I have this one. Hold on. I was going to show you a picture, but I have this one. This is what it will look like when it's finished. I have this in a brass button bag. That's just pretty. This is what it looked like the last time I showed it to you, which I think was just my little bit of a start from last year. I worked on this as well for 10 hours. And here is where it is now. So this down here is the roof of that giant house. I worked my way over so I could get that started so that as I work on it here and there, I can work a little bit on the roof. You can't see, you fold it just so I can get up closer. I've got the start of that big basket that sits on the roof that has, there's a big basket of flowers on the roof. Got the start of that. I am doing this with the called for floss, except that called for what appears to me to be white in the pattern, all that, like the white snow in that white basket. The called for that is roasted marshmallow from Gentle Art. But that's like a creamy color. So I am using toasted marshmallow from Classic Colorworks, which is more of a white and has little hints of, you probably can't see it, but it has little hints of tannish in it. I copied, I think Elizabeth Ann Stitch is the one that I saw that did that, and I totally copied that. So I have got a lot of this corner up here done. You know, I've just been kind of working wherever. This time I was working wherever was showing in the Q-Snap, and I might, next time I pick that up, I might move it, move the Q-Snap down to this bottom half and maybe work some of the border more around and get the house done so that I can kind of hop around as I want. Not get the house done, work some more on the house, because that's a huge house. So what I don't want to happen is to get to the end and have nothing but the house left, because that will just feel like a slog to me. So, the next two projects I have are new starts. The first one, which is in a bag by Lennox Stitches Creates. This was the third quarter bag for Hispanic History Month. Is that what it's called? Anyway, Frida Kahlo. And also Frida Kahlo is a, what do they call it? Sugar skull like. This is Autumn Cloche by Liz Matthews. This was one of her expo releases this year, and I just loved it. I was at Stitch Point back in October when Michelle and I stopped on our way up, and they have MPI flosses, so I decided to do this in MPI. They had almost all the flosses. So I am doing this before I'm going to show you. I am going to show you what I'm doing. But so if you look at this picture, this down here is obviously shades of gray. These flowers look more like a bluish gray to me. So I don't know. Take this out of here because I want to see if I can show you, but I don't know if I can get the camera to pick it up well enough. But, so, if you see, like this flower right here, I don't know if you can tell that there are three shades there, dark, medium, light. But to me, they all look bluish. You know, they're grays, but they look bluish. So, these are the three called for colors. And that middle one I'm not sure if I'm showing you right. Sorry, I'm trying to get not blown out by the light, but get to where it shows the color. Oh, come on. Here we go. That middle one just looks brown to me. It's like a brownie gray. And does not look at all to me like what's in the picture. Now this one looks like it would go, and this one, which is showing up browner because it's next to that brown, but when that one looks like it could go. So what I have done is I pull, and these numbers are 963, 964, and 965. Well, if you go to 923, 924, and 925, those to me, and also I've pulled in 922, those to me look more like the colors on the chart, on the picture. So that's what I'm doing. I am using the 922 for the obviously gray grays. And then I'm going to use some version, I haven't gotten there yet, of these three for those flowers and butterflies and stuff that look more gray to me. And so here is where I have gotten so far. Is just, so like, you know, obviously, and in the picture this is gray, but this to me is more of a blue-gray, so I've used one of the 920s for those. So anyway, that's, the MPI is lovely to work with. I'm doing that, I didn't tell you what I was doing that on. I am doing that on 40 count Atomic Ranch Vapors, and I'm doing it 1/2 with the silks. I didn't tell you that the Winter Rose Manor was on 36 count XG design in the milk coffee colorway. I do have a link below to my cross stitch spreadsheet for my whips, which gives you fabric and all that stuff if I ever forget to say something like that or tell you what floss I'm using or whatever. That spreadsheet will tell you, and if it doesn't answer your question, feel free to leave me a comment or message me. I mean, like, email me. There's a link tree below, which will give you an email link, and ask me whatever it is that I forgot to tell you. And then my last new start is I started Mr. February Gnome. Here's a picture of what it will look like when I'm done. And I am doing this on 20 count V-Stitch Me, Ada V-Stitch Me in the Hibiscus colorway. This is in a Gamma's Treasures bag. Excuse me. And that's where I have gotten so far. Not very far. Just the top of their hat, and I worked a little bit down to get a couple colors in to see. You may remember that I did Mr. January on 16 count Ada. This is 20 count Ada, which obviously means it's going to be a little smaller. Initially, I was going to try to do them all on the same kind of fabric, but then I realized that they don't all have the same stitch count, so they're not, and some of them are taller and narrower, some of them are more square, and so they're not all going to be the same size anyway. So then I just decided I would go with, I am going to probably do them all on Ada, but I'm going to go with what other fabric I like, you know, regardless of what count it is. They probably will all be 16, 18, or 20. I probably won't do any on 14 count unless, you know, that's just the fabric I love. I'm not sure yet how those are going to ultimately be displayed. The intent is to have them for my office to rotate. So I will probably, since it's obvious I'm not going to have a whole lot done before the first of the year, I will probably wait until sometime mid to late next year when I've got several to go ahead and fully finish those and decide how they're going to be displayed. So that is all for Quarters in Session. On the docket, December WIP Go, obviously there's only 2 numbers left. Those will be, for me, will be Reindeer Games by Erica Michaels and One Nation by Bygone Stitches. Sorry, I have my notes down here I'm looking at. Excuse me. So I will work on those next month. My goal for those is 10 hours each. I am also going to be doing, in Semi-Sane Stitchers, which is a Facebook group, I'm going to be doing whip wranglers. And I have chosen 7 projects to kind of rotate through so that I get a little bit more work done on 7 rather than choosing 20 separate projects. The 2 Reindeer Games and One Nation. And then I will also be working on Mr. February, Autumn Cloche, which you just saw, Haunted Library, which you've seen before, Flag of Stars, which you've seen before, and Good Company, which was my birthday start. So those are the projects that I will primarily be working on in December. I also need to choose and start my small for the beach retreat in February. I need to have that not only finished stitching, but fully finished by like mid-January, because we are going on a cruise the last full week of January, and the retreat is the weekend after we get back. So I don't want to leave it to that week between the cruise and the retreat to have to finish it. So, but I haven't even decided what I'm doing yet. I keep coming up with ideas and then not being totally thrilled with them. So something will occur to me hopefully in the next week or so. I think I have decided, sort of, I have not started Dragonfly Lace Mandala, the Chatelaine. I was going to start for my birthday yet. I haven't fully kitted up. I just have not really had the full brain space to start it. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards making it my New Year, New Start, since it is kind of an epic project. But that may change, and I might decide, get a wild hair in December and start it if I want to start something. So we'll see what happens. I'm thinking hopefully in December that I might actually get 2 more finishes, that I might get Flag of Stars and Mr. February possibly finished. Those are the 2 that I think are likely. It is possible that Good Company could get finished because it's not really that big, if I get, some decent work on it. So we'll see what happens. So on to stashing for retirement. There really, amazingly, you will be surprised, is not much this month, because I have been trying not to just make random purchases because ooh pretty and all that. So the only non-club purchase that I made, like I said, Michelle and I went on like a studio tour thing, and one of the studios we visited was Elaine O'Neill, and she does some paintings, and then she turns them into quilts, I think she said she paints the picture first, and then she does a quilt after it. She has illustrated for several books and things, and I just really like her style. And so I bought a couple of some cards and little small prints and stuff like that I'm not going to show you. But she did have a couple of embroidery kits, so I did get this one, which is, for those of you not UNC Tar Heels educated, that is the old well on campus at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And so it has I'm not going to take this all out, but you can see it has like a printed fabric, and then you just stitch to embellish. So there's some floss in here and everything that you can stitch to give it some texture and stuff. And then there's a hoop to not only stitch it in, but you can, finish it in the hoop. And then the rest of what I have for haul is just club stuff, the subscriptions that I have that have come in. So I got my October Bestitch Me fabric. I am in the, whatever she calls it, where you get color 1 month, neutral the next month. And last month was color, which was Whimsical, which is this. That's actually pretty good. That's showing a little more purple than it is, but it definitely is a blue with a hint of purple. So I get 36 count linen for that. I got my Color and Cotton November Thread Club, which was very kind of holiday, Thanksgiving-like themed. This is a subscription I have actually canceled for next year. I can't remember if I'm even getting December. I may have canceled it already. So this may be my last one that I'm getting. I love their floss. There's nothing against their floss. I had a couple things I wanted to add, and I had to make some decisions. And while I do use their floss, there's not many patterns that call for their floss. And so I chose to cancel this one. I also got my floss for Forbidden Fiber Co. This is, I think, 12 skeins of floss. I'm not going to go through all of them. She sends you 10 from her regular club and then 2 one-of-a-kinds. This is a wonderful, I love her dye scents. I have a lot of her floss, and I do use it regularly as substitutes when I don't have a called for fancy floss. However, that is another one that I will get one in December, I believe, but I have otherwise canceled that one for next year so that I can add a couple of new things. So, and then from Pam at Stitching in Atlanta Good Enough is her floss tube, but she owns a shop called Stitch New England in Massachusetts. I can't think of the name of the town, sorry. North Attleboro, Massachusetts, which is just across the border from Rhode Island, which is where she lives. So I get Weeks Dye Works from her. So I got those. What I like about her Weeks, I get Weeks, and I'll show you Classic Color Works in a minute. She sends them in alphabetical order, so I will eventually have a whole thing, and these are all C's. And I got my Classic Color Works from her, which are also C's. Oh, chocolate cream pie. That's actually, that chocolate cream pie is actually in the Mr. February I just started, so I'm using, so that gives me another one of those. So that was Classic Color Works. And then I also get MPI from her. I'm not going to take these out, but I get 5 from the regular line and 1 from the Northern Lights. Yeah, I'll take that out because that's a bad reflection. I usually store these in the bags for now because I haven't really decided on a good, so that's colors in the 150s, and I haven't figured out if there's there's always numbers similar to close to each other when she sends these, but I don't think there's an actual, she's not actually sending them, I don't think, in number order. I need to go back and look. So anyway, so that's some 140 somethings and some 150s, and then she sends 5 in the regular line, and she sends 1 Northern Lights, which is I don't know, just brighter colors, I guess. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know much about MPI other than it's silk and it's nice. So anyway, that is all for Stashing for Retirement. Can you believe it? My Stashing for Retirement was not 30 minutes long or longer. On the calendar, not much. I am going to the beach retreat in first weekend in February, which is put on by Barefoot Needle Arts there in Surfside Beach at Myrtle Beach, and the retreat's actually at Myrtle Beach near the airport. Like I said, I'm getting ready to start decorating for Christmas. Hopefully, we're going to be going down and seeing my in-laws and my daughter and her family for Christmas. That's about it, really. Nothing, at the moment, nothing particularly exciting going on plans-wise. So, I'm sure there will be some fun stuff somewhere, but I just don't know what it is yet. Anyway, actually, this is only 44 minutes long. Wow, this is short for me, so I need to wrap it up so it will stay short. Anyway, if you have stuck with me this long, I appreciate you checking me out. If you enjoyed it, I appreciate it if you would like and subscribe and do all the things. I'm at a little over 200 viewers now. I don't know. We get closer to 300. I might do something at 300. We'll see. We'll see. It depends on when we get there. So, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below or to email me at the address provided in the link tree below. I sometimes remember to link shops and stuff, but sometimes I don't. So if I didn't link somebody, you wanted to know what I said or what it was, just ask me. I'll be glad to answer. So anyway, I hope you all have, if you're in the U.S., I hope you've had a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. And if you celebrate Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate, I hope you are looking forward to a nice end of the year / holiday season and a little bit of downtime, however you get it and whatever you celebrate. So hopefully I will be back sometime before the end of the year with a regular floss tube, and then probably towards the end of the year or at the first of the year, I will do a whip parade for where we stand. The only thing I haven't showed you from this year is I have worked some on my crochet scrap blanket that I haven't showed you at all, so I'll definitely show you that. The other blankets have not really gotten any work this year. So anyway, so that's all. I will talk with you later. Bye, y'all.